We are in the eve of WrestleMania, and Roman Reigns is back on top. Welcome back to the Wrestling is Bullshit podcast. We are hours away or we are hours out of WrestleMania 42. The year really sneaks up on you, I guess. Already through another WrestleMania. How did it go? I'd say it was good, not great, ultimately. That is if I had to sum it up in a nutshell, I would say, yeah, it was good, not great. And the highs were very high and the lows were very low. Let's get into it. Let's start with night one. Well, I guess before we start with night one, we do have to shout out Royce Keys, formerly known as Powerhouse Hobbs. Royce Keys won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on the SmackDown before WrestleMania. Congratulations to Royce Keys. It made sense for him to win, and I look forward to seeing more of him on SmackDown and seeing what they have in store for him. Hopefully, it's something half decent. Now we get into WrestleMania night one, and we did see 3 title changes. But before we talk about those title changes, let's talk about Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu in an unsanctioned match. The second match of night one, right? It was featured on ESPN, had some cool table spots. They definitely they did their thing in this match. Was it top 5 unsanctioned? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, obviously. But they did their thing. And they could have had a top 5 unsanctioned match. Like, I'm not saying the match was bad. I'm just saying WWE was obsessed with shorter matches this WrestleMania. And I think it hurt certain matches like this one, the Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre. Not to say that it wasn't entertaining. We could have easily got another 5 to 10 minutes of it though. But that's nitpicky, right? I did have a good time with the match. Jacob Fatu did get the win here. I definitely thought this was a time to give Drew a nice WrestleMania win, but I guess not. I don't know what WWE has in store for Drew McIntyre at this point, but this is an incredible win for Jacob Fatu nonetheless. So we'll just keep it at that. When it comes to these title changes on night one, the first one we saw was the returning Paige teaming up with Brie Bella. Paige and Brie Bella actually went on to win the women's tag team fatal 4-way match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. So that was a cool moment. It's cool to see Paige back. Honestly, it was a genuine delight and surprise. It had been lingering out there in the wrestling internet community that Paige was coming back, but I didn't expect her to come back on night one, perchance. So I had a good time with this, and I'm excited to see what they do. Okay, they have the potential to keep the momentum of the women's tag team championship going. It's on Brie Bella and Paige now, and I hope that they keep the title defenses up because I've been enjoying the pacing of this division, and I would like to see the momentum continue. But I think that they're going to do that. I do have good hope in this division remaining awesome. It's been great for at least a year at this point. And then we get Becky Lynch regaining the Women's Intercontinental Championship, getting it back from AJ Lee. Nothing too crazy here. That's what we expected to happen. Nonetheless, I've enjoyed Becky Lynch taking on AJ Lee. I'm still a huge fan of Becky Lynch. I respect Becky Lynch. She's definitely one of my favorites when it comes to the world of women's wrestling right now. And she does deserve her flowers. She's probably the best of the 4 horsewomen, right? Charlotte, Mercedes Moné, Bayley, and Becky. It's got to be Becky. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a big Mercedes fan. You guys know this, but it's Becky. And she has another good WrestleMania showing, and she continues to make this Women's Intercontinental Championship mean something. And then last but not least, the last title change we saw was Liv Morgan defeating Stephanie Vaquer to become the new Women's World Champion. Pretty good co-main event here. A lot of people were talking about the women's matches being particularly short on night one. I don't love it either, but obviously, I felt that way with Penta and Drew McIntyre, and I definitely think like Becky Lynch can have bigger matches, longer matches, I should say, right? I think the booking and the choice for her matchup at WrestleMania this year was excellent. Let them go, let them go another 5 minutes or so. I support that. Like, I'm not clamoring for that, but I support that notion for sure. And then we get into night 2. I'm not even going to talk about Cody and Randy. I didn't like it. All right. That's all I need to say. I didn't like it. I was pretty bummed out about the lack of common sense, logical storytelling sense. Didn't make sense. Okay. I'm further commenting on it would just be beating a dead horse. You know, it doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense. It is a pimple on what is a solid era of WWE right now. And it sucks. They built up Cody for years, and this was the match, you know? All right. We're just going to move on. You guys, I've saying my negative praises about the booking of Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes leading into WrestleMania. I'm just going to continue on. We're going to go into night 2, where we did see a 6-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship, in which was a classic with some awesome spots. This was a good time, you know. The 6-man ladder match has always been something that WWE knows how to do well in any era, no matter what. So all they got to do is ring the bell. And Penta ends up retaining the Intercontinental Championship in this ladder match. This was a fun ladder match, I got to say. You know, we had some fun ladder matches at WrestleMania and SummerSlam last year, and then we continue this year. We see the Intercontinental Championship defended in a ladder match, and that was a good time for sure. The other mid-card belt, the United States Championship, went into it on the shoulders of Sami Zayn. But Sami Zayn faced Trick Williams, lost to Trick Williams on night 2, and Sami Zayn lost the United States Championship to Trick Williams. I think this was a fantastic win for Trick Williams. Yes, it is at the somewhat expense of Sami Zayn, but ultimately, I think that there's a bigger story to tell with Sami Zayn, and it didn't quite come to fruition with Seth Rollins last year, but there's no reason that they can't go and visit it later down the line. I understand these guys, you know, aren't young anymore, aren't spring chickens, but I think we still have a lot of time to give Sami Zayn the big one. And when that comes, that'll be an awesome moment. But nonetheless, man, we get Trick Williams being established quite well on this night 2 of WrestleMania this year as he becomes the new United States champion. And I'm excited to see what he does because he's been very impressive and he has been one of the more successful transitions to the main roster. Of course, Obafemi is also in that category, right? Getting the victory over Brock Lesnar, who seems to be retiring as well. These guys are here now, which is awesome. I was waiting for guys like Carmelo Hayes, guys like Trick Williams, and guys like Obafemi. You know, I think I'm waiting on Tony D'Angelo, and I think he's working some character arc in NXT that's going to be very pivotal to his success on the main roster sometime. But yeah, it was one of the screaming positives was it was good to see Trick Williams win the United States Championship. I thought his entrance was pretty funny. If you know, you know. And this was good. This was really good. We get into the co-main here, Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. And ultimately, yes, Rhea held Jade Cargill to a solid match. A short match, but WWE's just doubling, tripling down on that, unfortunately. Like, there's no further commenting I can make on it. I already brought it up in this episode alone, and I've been talking about it a lot. A lot of people have. But ultimately, it didn't upset me too much, the Rhea Ripley Jade Cargill match. In fact, I don't think upset would be the word that I would use for this. I thought that they hit some really good spots. I thought that for what the match was, it was very entertaining, you know, and that's credit to Rhea Ripley being able to lead Jade Cargill to a good match. And Jade Cargill has been getting reps for the past couple of years now. So I thought this was a pretty excellent showing from Jade Cargill, an impressive showing, which is good to see, right? Because I would love to revisit this match down the line sometime, whatever it looks like, Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill. And I'm sure, you know, WWE would love to run it back sooner than later. So, yeah, Rhea Ripley is the new WWE Women's Champion. I think this is the time to let Rhea Ripley do her thing with that belt. They've kind of been teasing us with the Rhea Ripley championship reign. She had a pretty good one a few years ago, and now it's time to do it again, right? Rhea Ripley's one of, if not the most talented women's wrestler in WWE right now. And now she's got gold, and that means that we are in to get some good singles Rhea Ripley matches against the whole roster, please. I'm excited. This was a good thing, you know? And I think there's stuff to do on Raw with Liv Morgan as well. So I'm very excited for the title changes that came from both nights of WrestleMania. And then we get to the big one, the main event, right? We get to Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. And ultimately, this wasn't a great WrestleMania, but this was a great main event. This was a great main event. All right. We got to call it what it is. This was a great main event. There was a lot of things going into WrestleMania this year that killed the momentum, killed the excitement. But this was WWE's rock on this road to WrestleMania. Roman Reigns and CM Punk. And this is a match that they've been building to for years. Some would argue decades with the Shield situation. And they did have notions of storytelling that took place in every CM Punk versus Shield member match, right? Because CM Punk faced Jon Moxley in AEW. And then we had Punk versus Rollins earlier in Punk's return run. And now we get the big CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. And they just went for it. They made it the match. And it delivered. There's no way it wasn't going to. Roman's fantastic. Punk is fantastic. It could have been Roman versus Rollins. It could have been Punk versus Rollins. Like, those guys know how to work. So, hey, man, they didn't do anything too crazy with this match, but it became the biggest fallout from WrestleMania, right? To nobody's surprise, it's just like, this works. You messed up your night one main event. Take note, that doesn't work. This works. Roman versus Punk was a fantastic hype match. And I think it's cool to see the World Heavyweight Championship come full circle, main event over the undisputed WWE Championship. Like, obviously, when we think of the WWE Championship, like the main title, we think of Cody's belt. But ultimately, the story and the talent and the chemistry was so good for this feud between Roman and Punk that it just does all the more service to the World Heavyweight Championship. We have put it on guys like Gunther. We have put it on guys like Jey Uso. We have made it a championship that can be a little more fun instead of having to be so carefully booked. And then it genuinely, naturally worked its way up to being in a high caliber match between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And I look forward to seeing what Roman Reigns does with the World Heavyweight Championship, but you got to think they're setting up Roman versus Cody 3, winner takes all. Like, if that's not on your mind right now, then get familiar, because I know that they're thinking about it. And they're going to give it some great thought, right? Because it almost seems like the men's main roster situation at WWE would really benefit from having 2 belts instead of 1. But we got a whole year of that. So maybe we just have a fantastic year of several different lineups of matches, and then we go ahead and we go back to the 1 world championship model. I'm not against that. If that's easier for them to book, right? I think they should do it with their tag team division as well. Easier to book. You have the champion on both shows floating. That's not hard to do at all. You can have certain floater championships, right? Like the tag team belts for the men and the women, and then the world championship. But that's just a possibility. At the end of the day, I still would be fine with having 2 major titles with this main roster situation here, where they have so much good talent that can easily develop into main event talent. We got the return of Braun Breaker. A lot of us thought that Braun Breaker should have been involved in the World Heavyweight Championship picture this WrestleMania. You could build to Roman versus Jacob Fatu at a certain point. There's so much to do. There's a lot to do, and WWE has put themselves in a situation where they can go either which way, right? They're always good at doing that, especially nowadays. So I'm leaving WrestleMania pretty excited, to be honest with you. I'm very excited to have Roman Reigns in a situation in which he is best in, and that is when he is the champion, right? And I do think that we got to build ourselves back up to Roman v. Cody 3, right? I think that's the case there. We'll see what happens, though. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and get into the watch list. Let's go ahead and talk about what we can expect the week after WrestleMania. Not too much, to be honest with you. Not too much. Ultimately, we have NXT Revenge. We have AEW Dynamite with a pretty huge match. And then we have a New Japan show. So we got some scraps here. But, if you feel the need to take a break from watching pro wrestling, I would say do that, right? But if you want some more, you got NXT Revenge on Tuesday, right? You got Lexis King taking on EK Prosker for the vacant WWE Speed Championship. You have Miles Bourne defending the North American Championship against Dion Lennox. That's going to be a pretty good one. And then you have Tatum Paxley defending the Women's North American Championship against Blake Monroe. It's going to be a fun show on NXT. NXT is, a lot of fun. And then we get to AEW Dynamite, where the new AEW World Champion, Darby Allin, will be defending the title against Tommaso Ciampa just 7 days after he defeated MJF for the belt. It's kind of crazy that AEW crowns Darby Allin during WrestleMania weekend. Like, at the end of the day, it gets lost in the shuffle. I think the Roman and Punk match gave us just enough to appreciate and look forward to seeing more of in terms of what Roman does after WrestleMania. So it's been an overload, to say the least. Darby wins the AEW World title, and then Roman wins the World Heavyweight Championship days later, WrestleMania happening in between that. But I look forward to seeing what Darby Allin does. Like, this is a moment that AEW has been building up to for years. And I wonder what they have in store for All In. I wonder, what the path to All In is going to look like, because this Darby Allin championship win just kind of makes everything feel so in the air in such an awesome way. And I'm sure Tony Khan himself doesn't even know what he wants to do yet. I mean, I'm not going to put that on him. Maybe he's got a plan, but ultimately, you start to weigh out those options on the build, right? WWE does it on the road to WrestleMania, and then we are kind of entering the road to All In, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens for sure. I look forward to seeing Darby Allin and Tommaso Ciampa have an AEW World Championship match on Dynamite this week. That's going to be fantastic. And then we have New Japan Pro Wrestling. Wrestling Red Zone is the name of the show, as the Unbound Company defend the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against the Ichiban Sweet Boys. These two teams have been doing really good work in New Japan, I will say. They've been really fun to watch. If you find yourself around on, Saturday around 2 a.m. or something, if you're in the United States, if you're elsewhere, maybe you have a more convenient time to see this live. But yeah, that's all I got for the watch list. And before I let you go, we have to get into the top 20 champions of wrestling. All right. Crazy week. A lot of people lost their championships that were in the top three. The top three has been completely dissolved. Right. So it's going to be very interesting. Who landed where. And I hope you can side with me and understand why I put the people where I put them. I will say that we need to see what's happening at Backlash, and obviously that will get Roman Reigns back on the top 20 list, and probably Cody as well. If Cody can just return to a solid championship defense schedule, that's how we rebuild him out of here. I don't know at this point, man. It's kind of sad to see with the Cody Rhodes stuff. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Before we get into the top 20 itself, let's go ahead and get into the honorable mentions. Of course, these are people that didn't quite crack the top 20, but they are still fantastic nonetheless. Before I get into those, I do want to reiterate, I base this on work rate. There's a science, there's a metric system to it. Is there subjectivity? Of course there is. There has to be there's some sort of subjectivity, right? But ultimately, I do use a lot of metrics to justify where I'm putting these people. All right. But ultimately, something like this is always meant to be super subjective and polarizing by default. This is just my natural analysis here. Top 20 champions of wrestling. Before we get to that, let's go ahead and get those honorable mentions. We got Aaron Rourke, the WWE Evolve champion, the Elegance brand Knockouts World Tag Team champions, Alex Windsor, the Strong Openweight Women's champion, Deonna Purrazzo, the Pure champion from Ring of Honor, Pagano and Psycho Clown, the AAA World Tag Team champions, Mike Santana, the TNA World champion, Mystico, the CMLL World Light Heavyweight champion, Bandito, Ring of Honor World champion, Leon Slater, X Division champion, Jack Perry, AEW National Champion, Echisato, CMLL World Heavyweight Champion, Cody Rhodes, Undisputed WWE Champion, Laney Luck, WWE ID Women's Champion, and FTR, AEW World Tag Team Champions. All those guys are doing their thing. All right. They didn't crack the top 20, but that's just a reflection of how good wrestling is right now. All right. And there's absolutely going to be some sleepers on this top 20 list, like there always are. All right. Starting at number 20, we have the AEW International Champion, Kazuchika Okada. Number 19, we have the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, Athena. Number 18, we have the WWE Tag Team Champions, Damian Priest and R-Truth. Number 17, we have Red Velvet, the Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion. Number 16, we have Ariana Grace, Knockouts World Champion. And then number 15, we have Vanity Project, the NXT Tag Team Champions. NXT Women's Champion, Lola Vice, is next. And then NXT champion Tony D'Angelo comes in at number 13. Number 12 goes to the North American champion of NXT, Miles Bourne. And then the number 11 spot goes to the women's North American champion, Tatum Paxley. All right, now we get into the top 10. 10-1, starting with number 10, the CMLL World Women's Champion, Persephone. Coming in at number 9 is TNT champion Kevin Knight. Followed by number 8, Willow Nightingale, TBS champion. Number 7, AEW World Trios champions, The Conglomeration. Number 6, AEW Women's World Tag Team champions, Divine Dominion. And then we got number 5, New Japan Pro Wrestling World Television champion, Konosuke Takeshita. AEW Women's World Champion comes in at number 4. And then we get to the podium here. We get to the podium. All right. And at number 3, we get the Continental Champion of AEW, Jon Moxley, who's been making this title mean something and been having fantastic matches. Nothing fancy to it, just been doing the work since early January, right? Number 2 is the Intercontinental Champion, Penta, who they have slowly built into this position to be a very dominant Intercontinental Champion. He's doing numbers. He's making that belt mean something, and he just retained in a 6-man ladder match at WrestleMania, one of the best matches on the card. Penta's number 2, man. Penta might even be number 1. All right. I really did go back and forth with number 2 and number 1 right here. I gave Darby Allin number 1 because this is a championship win that they have building Darby Allin to. They've been building him to it for several years, and there were little nodes of storytelling that have existed for almost a decade at this point. Like, that was a chef's kiss moment, Darby Allin winning the AEW world title the way he did, and he's already coming out and defending the belt on Dynamite 7 days later. Like, sorry, that's pretty well done. All right, that's it. It's not that hard. It's a pro wrestling show. It's not that hard. So that's pretty well done. But I do have to say I'm completely interchangeable between Darby and Penta in the number 1 spot and the number 2 spot. Like, it's almost Darby and Penta are both 1A. And then Jon Moxley is 3. I would say that's where it's at right now. Roman will find himself on this podium, hopefully sooner than later. He said he's done with that part-timer stuff. If he's not going to be a part-timer and he defends that World Heavyweight Championship at a full rate capacity on Monday Night Raw, we are going to have so much fun. Let me tell you, we are going to have so much fun. That's going to be so fantastic. And that's the word. That's what we're hearing. You know, I'm not saying Roman has to defend the title on Raw and stuff. That would be nice. But ultimately, if we are consistently building with Roman to the next PLE weeks after weeks after weeks, then that's perfect. And then just have the match at the PLE. You know, I'm happy with that. And ultimately, I do stand on this list, right? I do think AEW has a lot more consistency with their championships just across the board. They're just doing such great work. But ultimately, we're seeing a lot of success from NXT as well on this list. NXT is pretty dominant from the 20 to 11 portion. Like, I'm just trying to keep it real here, guys, ultimately. And ultimately, coming out of WrestleMania with about 6 title changes, that's going to erase a lot of people that were taking up a lot of space on this top 20 list. People like Stephanie Vaquer, people like AJ Lee, people like Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was recently in the top 3, and I think he deserves that. I think he's Sami Zayn. He's that good. So, yeah, I stand on business with this. I'm actually proud of this list. All right, fellas, that's enough. WrestleMania has come and gone this year once again. Pretty nuts, to say the least. To say the least, pretty nuts. So we'll be back to talk soon enough, probably next week as we do so well, right? We build to Backlash. AEW's building to Double or Nothing, which means we should be getting the Owen soon enough. Good times. The good times don't stop. Oh my goodness, this roller coaster of the world of professional wrestling never ends. And it's crazy, man. It is nuts. It is truly a good time. Thank you for riding with me. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.